Queen sat in the towering crystal throne room of the Empire, her golden scales shimmering in the pale alien light. She had ruled for centuries, a symbol of power and wisdom, yet today she felt a strange unease twisting through her chest. In front of her, the communication orb flickered, and Princess Lyra's face appeared. The young princess looked nervous, her bright eyes reflecting both fear and courage. "Mother," Lyra began, her voice steady but soft, "I have something important to tell you." Claws tightened around the edge of the throne. She had learned to read every nuance of her daughter's tone, but today it felt different. There was a weight behind her words that made the ancient queen pause. "Speak, Lyra. Tell me what troubles you." Lyra took a deep breath. I am married to a human, and we are expecting children." The words struck like an electric shock. Her eyes widened and her tentacles twitched involuntarily. Humans were a fragile, unpredictable species, barely known to most of her kind. They were strong in spirit, perhaps, but physically weak, emotional, and dangerous in ways often could not understand. Yet here was her daughter, declaring not only a union with a human, but that new life, hybrids, was on the way. Struggled to find words. Her mind raced. "Married to a human," she finally whispered, her voice trembling. "Do you understand what you are saying? You have bound our bloodline to one of the weakest species in known space." Lyra's eyes glistened with tears. "I know, Mother, I know it sounds impossible, even foolish, but he is kind, brave, and loyal, and our children, they will be strong, Mother, stronger than anyone can imagine. They carry both of our worlds inside them." Recoiled slightly, unable to fully mask her horror. She had always dreamed of powerful heirs who could lead the Empire with strength unmatched. But humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and now they were to be part of her family. She rose from her throne, packing the crystalline floor. The echo of her steps sounded loud and sharp in the empty hall. "Do you not see what you risk?" she demanded. "Our people have always followed the purity of the bloodline. These hybrids could weaken us, or worse, create chaos we cannot control." Lyra stepped closer to the orb, her hands shaking but her voice steady. "Mother, I understand your fear, I do, but humans are not just fragile creatures. They have courage in their hearts. They endure, they love, they adapt in ways we cannot imagine. And he loves me. He will protect our children, and he will honor our family." His gaze softened, though her uncertainty remained. There was something in her daughter's eyes, something fiercely human and impossibly brave, that stirred a part of her she had long kept hidden. Hope. Could it be that these humans, these fragile beings, carried a strength that even the oldest of could not see? The queen sat back down, her claws resting heavily on the throne. She exhaled slowly, the tension in her massive frame slowly ebbing. "Lyra, I do not know if I can accept this," she said quietly. "It is too strange, too dangerous, but I will listen, I will try." Lyra smiled through tears, relief washing over her. "Thank you, Mother. That is all I ask. Just hear me, watch me, and one day you will see that our children will carry the best of both worlds." Stared at the flickering orb, at her daughter's determined face, and at the thought of these human children. She felt fear, yes, but also a strange spark of curiosity. Could life, this impossible union of two very different species, truly create something extraordinary? For the first time in centuries, Queen felt uncertainty, tempered with a glimmer of hope. And deep down, she wondered if perhaps in the union of human and a new kind of strength could be born. The orb dimmed as the connection ended, leaving the queen alone in her grand hall. She touched her chest where her heart raced and whispered to herself, "Hybrids, could they really be the future?" Weeks later, Princess Lyra arrived on the royal planet of her hand firmly holding that of her human husband. The shuttle that carried them descended through the swirling violet clouds, shining light on the crystal towers of the palace. Guards, who had never seen a human before, froze in awe at its presence. Unlike who were tall, elegant, and unafraid, humans were smaller, softer, yet something about radiated courage. Queen waited in the grand entry hall. Her golden eyes studied the human closely, and her tentacles twitched as she wondered what she had agreed to see. Lyra approached her mother with gentle steps and bowed respectfully, though he did not hide the curiosity in his own eyes. His voice was calm but sharp. "You expect me to believe that my will come from him?" she asked, her gaze shifting between Lyra and... stood tall, his chest straight, showing no fear despite the intimidating alien presence. "I am not your people," he said quietly, his voice steady. "But I will protect Lyra always, and our children will carry the strength of both our worlds." Lyra squeezed his hand, her heart swelling with pride and relief. "Mother, humans can surprise you," she said. "They can endure, fight, and love in ways even the strongest cannot. Is one of them. He is brave, loyal, and true." His claws flexed at her sides. She wanted to reject this human immediately, to protect her daughter from what she thought was weakness. Yet there was something in his gaze that unsettled her, an unwavering determination, a fire she had seen in no other being, not even in the fiercest warriors. "You are different," said finally, her voice quieter than before. "We are not meant to bond with humans. They are fragile, they are unpredictable, and yet you stand before me without fear." Nodded. "Fear exists in all beings," he said. "But courage is not about size, strength, or scales. It is about facing danger for those you love. That is what I will do for Lyra and our children." The Queen's eyes softened slightly. She could not deny the truth in his words. The way he carried himself, the calm confidence, the respect he showed her daughter, it was unlike anything she had expected from a human. Perhaps she had been too harsh in her judgment. Lyra guided her mother to the private garden, a serene place filled with glowing plants and humming crystal streams. The air was calm, and the faint scent of alien flowers filled the space. "Mother," Lyra said, her voice trembling with emotion, "I wanted you to see him before the children come, to see that they will have a father who loves them and who can stand by our side." Observed the human carefully as he moved among the alien flora. He bent to examine a glowing bloom, gently touching the petals as if he understood their beauty. Realized she had underestimated humans entirely. Was careful, aware, and surprisingly perceptive. He noticed things that even some overlooked. "You speak of love," said slowly, "and yet your species is fragile. How do you know you can protect them?" Straightened and looked at the Queen, his eyes steady. "Strength is not only physical. It is courage, it is patience, it is the willingness to endure hardship for those you care about. I will do all of that for Lyra and our children. I will not fail them, and I will not fail you." The Queen could feel a strange warmth rising in her chest, something she had not felt in centuries. Humans were indeed strange, unpredictable, and perhaps foolish, but she began to sense that their hearts, this human heart, carried something even needed, unwavering bravery and love. For the first time since the revelation, allowed herself to hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, these human children could survive, thrive, and even surpass her expectations. Perhaps the future she feared could be brighter than she had ever imagined. As the sun dipped behind the crystal towers, casting long violet shadows over the garden, Queen remained silent. She did not fully accept it yet, but a seed of curiosity and maybe trust had been planted. And that seed would grow in ways she could not yet foresee. The palace halls were quiet, but a storm of tension brewed beneath the crystal ceilings. Queen watched her daughter and the human with keen eyes. She had agreed to meet him, but in her heart doubts still churned. Humans were unpredictable. They were fragile, could truly be worthy of Lyra, and more importantly, could he protect her future? Said, her voice cold yet curious, "If you wish to join this family, you must prove your worth, not through words, but through action." Straightened, his jaw firm, and nodded. "I understand. Whatever you ask, I will do my best." The Queen's scales shimmered with a faint glow. "You will enter the Hall of Trials," she said. "It is the path every warrior must take to prove courage, wisdom, and heart. Few succeed and many perish trying. Are you ready to face it?" Met her gaze without flinching. "I am ready." Lyra stepped forward, worry in her eyes. "Mother, he is human. The trials, they are dangerous." Santeni twitched. "Danger is part of proving strength, child. Humans may fear it, but courage is not absence of fear. It is action despite it." The first chamber was a labyrinth of moving walls, narrow paths, and sudden drops. His human legs stumbled at first, but he quickly adjusted. His small size allowed him to slip through gaps where a full warrior might have been crushed. He learned the rhythm of the shifting floors, anticipating the walls' movements with sharp focus. Queen observed silently from above. Even the guards, who had doubted him, watched in astonishment. The human adapted, faltered, and adapted again. He showed patience, ingenuity, and endurance, qualities rare even among the oldest warriors of. The second trial was not physical. It tested perception and understanding. Illusions and false visions filled the room, showing horrors, betrayals, and fears. Hesitated, clearly shaken, but he took a deep breath and reached for the truth hidden beneath the illusions. He comforted frightened creatures that appeared, and he resisted the urge to flee. Each choice he made revealed empathy, courage, and heart. Queen's eyes narrowed. Humans were strange. Their bodies were soft, their forms fragile, yet their minds could surprise even the most disciplined. And he had something no warrior had shown in decades, balance of courage and compassion. Finally, he entered the last chamber. Here, the trial was not against walls, illusions, or creatures, it was against himself. A vision of Lyra, frightened and in danger, appeared. Shadows of monstrous enemies loomed over her. His heart raced, and his human instincts told him to flee, yet he stood his ground. He extended his hands, not in strength, but in willingness to protect, to endure pain, and to act for love rather than fear. The hall went silent. Even the air seemed to pause. Queen could feel the human's courage radiating outward. She had expected panic, weakness, failure, but instead she saw bravery unlike any she had witnessed. When he emerged from the hall of trials, battered and tired but alive, Queen approached him slowly. Her eyes were thoughtful. "You have passed the test," she said quietly. "Not because of strength alone, but because of heart, and that is rarer than any power in the universe." Lyra ran to him, wrapping her arms around his human frame. "You did it! You proved it!" she cried. Looked up at his chest heaving. "I only did what I had to do," he said, "for Lyra, for our children." His heart, ancient and steady for centuries, felt something unfamiliar. Humans, perhaps they were fragile, yes, but they carried courage and love that could rival even the strongest. Perhaps this human, this one man, could be trusted with her daughter, and with the future of her. For the first time, she allowed a small smile to touch her face. The test had been more than physical. It had been a test of heart and had passed. The palace was unusually quiet as the weeks passed. Princess Lyra's belly had begun to swell, a soft curve beneath her robes that spoke of new life growing within her. Queen observed her daughter carefully, trying to reconcile her initial fear with the reality before her eyes. The human had proven himself in ways she had never expected. And now the proof of their union, a new generation, was slowly forming, alive and strong. Approached Lyra in the private gardens, where glowing flowers bathed the courtyard in gentle light. The air was filled with soft hums, and small creatures floated between the plants, drawn to the princess's presence. Lyra's hand rested protectively over her stomach, and her eyes sparkled with something had never seen before, a mix of hope, fear, and awe. "Mother," Lyra began, her voice trembling slightly, "I wanted you to see this to understand." His golden eyes softened as she looked at her daughter. She had watched countless heirs grow, but this was different. The children growing inside Lyra were a bridge between two worlds, human and, the thought was terrifying, yet strangely beautiful. "How are they?" asked quietly, almost afraid of the answer. "They move," Lyra whispered, pressing her hand gently over her belly. "They respond to my touch, to my voice. Sometimes I feel them kick like they are trying to reach for me. They are alive, Mother, and I think they are brave." Lowered her gaze, touched by the innocence and wonder in her daughter's words. For centuries, she had ruled with strength and caution, always guarding the empire against threats. And yet now she found herself drawn to the tiny spark of life that promised something entirely new, a future she had not imagined. Knelt beside Lyra, his human hands gentle on her shoulders. "They are strong," he said softly, his eyes never leaving her face. "Even at this stage, they carry resilience. You will see, Queen, they will inherit the best of both our worlds." The Queen's tentacles twitched, a sign of her inner turmoil. Could she trust this human's words? Could she allow herself to believe that his children with her daughter would truly be extraordinary? "Humans are fragile," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "How can they survive in a world like ours? How can they carry the blood of without breaking?" His hand rested lightly over Lyra's. "Strength is not always measured by scales or size, Your Majesty. Sometimes it is in courage, in patience, In the ability to endure fear and still move forward, you already have it. His chest tightened. She could feel the truth in his words. Humans were strange, fragile in appearance, yet their hearts were filled with something raw and untamed. Perhaps this combination, the resilience of and the courage of humans, could create life beyond anything she had ever seen. Lyra smiled, tears forming in her eyes. Mother, I wanted you to know, to see that this union is not weakness. It is a new beginning. They are our future, and they are already teaching me more than I ever imagined. The queen stepped closer, lowering herself to place a claw gently on Lyra's shoulder. The touch was cautious, tentative, yet filled with a strange warmth. I see it, murmured. I do not fully understand yet, but I feel it. They are alive, they are brave, and perhaps they will be even more than we can imagine. Stood silently, watching the moment with quiet pride. He had always known humans could endure, could love, could inspire hope in the darkest places. And now he saw it reflected in the eyes of the oldest, most powerful being in the Empire. The sun dipped behind the crystalline towers, casting soft shadows across the garden. In that light, allowed herself to wonder for the first time in centuries. Could her truly be the bridge between worlds? Could these small, unborn beings change the future of both species? For the first time, Queen felt something other than caution. She felt hope. And in that hope, she began to imagine a future where her, part human and part, could carry the legacy of both their parents, and perhaps surpass anything the galaxy had ever known. The peaceful days in the palace were shattered by a sudden alarm. Red lights flashed across the grand halls, and an urgent hum echoed from the communication orb. Queen's eyes narrowed, her claws flexing in instinctive readiness. A rogue faction of her empire, loyal only to tradition and fearful of change, had discovered the news of Lyra's human husband and her unborn children. They viewed hybrids as abominations, threats to the purity of blood. They planned to attack, one of the palace guards reported, his voice trembling. They want the children, or they want to remove your daughter. His tentacles twitched in anger and fear. Centuries of ruling had not prepared her for betrayal from within her own empire. She had feared humans, had doubted them, yet now her child, their future, was in real danger. Lyra stood beside, clutching his arm. Mother, what do we do? She asked, her voice tight with worry. Took a deep breath, steadying herself. We defend. We protect what is ours. You will fight alongside us. I see now that you are not weak. You are human, yes, but you have proven courage. Nodded, his jaw firm. I will fight for Lyra, for our children, and for you, Queen. I will not let anyone harm them. The palace erupted into controlled chaos. Guards took positions, energy barriers activated, and the halls shimmered with defensive light. Outside, the rogue faction gathered, their ships dark against the swirling violet skies. They had strength in numbers, but had something they could not anticipate: unwavering resolve. The first wave of attackers breached the outer gates. They expected panic. They expected fear. But alongside elite warriors met them head-on. He moved with agility, dodging energy blasts, guiding allies, and protecting those weaker than him. Each move carried precision, courage, and strategy that stunned the watching soldiers. Watched from the palace balcony, her heart pounding. Humans were small, yes, but this one human's bravery was extraordinary. Even the fiercest could learn from him. She felt a strange mixture of fear and awe as she realized that these children, half human, half, might inherit this same courage. The rogue faction pressed harder, seeking to break through the palace defenses. Shadows of the attackers loomed over Lyra's chamber. Panic flared, but presence steadied her. Stay calm, he whispered. I will protect you and the children. Felt something unfamiliar, trust. For the first time, she relied on a human to safeguard her family, and she believed he could. He moved through the corridors with determination, saving guards who were cornered, shielding Lyra when debris fell, and standing firm against impossible odds. Hours passed, and the battle raged, both inside and outside the palace. Soldiers followed his lead, inspired by his courage and resolve. The rogue faction, unprepared for such defiance from a human, began to falter. Their confidence wavered as they realized that bravery was not measured by size, strength, or species. It was measured by heart. Finally, the last of the attackers retreated, leaving the palace in relative silence. Guards and civilians alike tended to the wounded, and the palace shimmered with the faint glow of restored energy barriers. Lyra sank into arms, tears flowing freely. You saved us," she whispered. Held her tightly, exhaustion written on his face. "We saved each other," he said softly. Stepped forward, her golden eyes glimmering with pride and awe. She placed a claw gently on Lyra's shoulder. "I see it now," she said quietly, her voice thick with emotion. "Humans, perhaps they are fragile, yes, but their hearts, their courage, it can move mountains. They can protect, endure, and inspire. They will carry this strength." For the first time, the Queen felt a deep sense of relief and wonder. The crisis had proven something she had long doubted. Humans could be heroes, and their children, could inherit the very best of both worlds. The battle had ended, but the palace still hummed with tension. Guards and healers moved through the corridors, tending to the wounded. Queen stood in the central hall, her golden scales dimly reflecting the soft glow of the crystal chandeliers. She had witnessed bravery today that challenged everything she had ever believed about humans. And now, her focus was on her daughter, Lyra, who was resting in the private chamber, ready to bring new life into the world. Lyra's breathing was uneven, her hands clutching at her swollen belly. Stayed close, offering comfort and quiet encouragement. He had proven himself in battle, but this moment was different. Life was fragile, unpredictable, and sacred. Every breath, every heartbeat mattered. "Mother," Lyra whispered, her voice strained with pain but also filled with hope. "It's time." Stepped forward, her claws trembling slightly as she observed the scene. She had ruled over empires, commanded fleets, and faced countless threats, but this, bringing life into the world, was a power she had never fully controlled. She knelt beside her daughter, her voice soft. "I am here, Lyra, you are not alone." The hours stretched on. Pain, fear, and anticipation mixed in the air like electricity. Never left Lyra's side, his human hands steady and reassuring, his eyes never leaving hers. He whispered words of love and courage, reminding her of the strength within. Watched quietly, a strange feeling settling in her chest, pride, fear, awe, and finally hope. And then the first cry echoed through the chamber. A small, new life had entered the universe. Queen gasped, unable to move for a moment, her golden eyes wide with wonder. The child was perfect, a blend of human warmth and grace. Its skin shimmered faintly, a soft glow that spoke of its dual heritage, and its tiny hands reached instinctively toward Lyra. Lyra sobbed with relief, holding her child close. "Our baby, our miracle," she whispered. Gently cradled the other newborn, his expression a mix of exhaustion and pride. The second child, a twin, opened its bright, curious eyes and felt her ancient heart stir in a way she had never expected. These were her hybrids, yes, but magnificent beings. They carried courage, love, and resilience that she had seen in neither species alone. Tears streamed down's face. For centuries, she had feared change, feared weakness, feared the unknown. And now, before her, was living proof that the union of human and could create something extraordinary. Something stronger, braver, and more beautiful than she had imagined. "They are perfect," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Stronger than I imagined, braver than I feared, and full of life." Lyra leaned against her mother, exhausted but radiant. "Mother, I wanted you to see that we can be more than what the world expects. Our children, they are proof that love, courage, and hope can change everything." Nodded, his hand resting on Lyra's shoulder. "They will grow with strength from both our worlds. They will carry the best of and the best of humanity. And one day, they will show the universe what it means to truly endure." Allowed herself to smile, a genuine smile that had not appeared for centuries. She reached out to touch the small hand of one of the newborns. The warmth, the life, and the spark within it struck her deeply. This was not just survival, it was a promise. A promise of courage, unity, and a future brighter than she had ever dared to imagine. The twin suns of cast soft light through the chamber, illuminating the tiny faces of the children. Looked at Lyra and at the new life they had created and finally understood. Her empire, her people, and her legacy could survive and grow stronger, not by clinging to the past, but by embracing what was extraordinary and new. In that moment she whispered to herself, her voice filled with awe and certainty, "These are my, and they will carry the future." Days after the miracle, the palace was quiet again, but not with the silence of fear. It was a calm, expectant peace. The newborn twins slept side by side in a crystal cradle, their small hands reaching instinctively toward each other, a perfect reflection of their shared heritage. Queen stood in the balcony, gazing out at the twin suns of the planet as they bathed the towers in warm, golden light. For the first time in centuries, she felt the weight of hope instead of the weight of rule. Lyra approached, her steps careful, her eyes bright with unshed tears. Followed close behind, carrying the other child, cradled gently in his human arms. They had survived threats, doubts, and fears, and now their family was whole. His gaze softened as she looked at them, the children, their parents, and the bond that held them together. "They are extraordinary," Lyra whispered, almost as if speaking the words aloud could make them real. "Mother, I wanted you to see, they are not just children, they are the bridge between our worlds." His golden eyes glimmered, reflecting the sun's light. "I see it now, Lyra," she said quietly. "I feared, I doubted, I worried, but this is more than I could have imagined. Humans, perhaps I underestimated them, and they carry both strength and courage, something even we cannot fully predict." Knelt beside her, his eyes steady and calm. "Your Majesty, they will grow learning the best of both worlds. And when the time comes, they will show everyone that bravery, love, and resilience are not measured by species, but by heart." His tentacles twitched gently, a sign of both contemplation and relief. She remembered the tests, the battles, the moments of doubt and fear. Each challenge had proven the same truth. Humans, small and fragile as they might appear, could carry strength beyond measure. And now her had inherited that strength, combined with the enduring power of. Lyra smiled, leaning against her mother. "We were afraid too," she admitted. "Of what others would think, of what could go wrong, but now, seeing them, I know that life always finds a way. Our children are proof of that." Reached down to touch one of the sleeping twins, her claw gentle against the soft, glowing skin. A warmth ran through her ancient being, stronger than any energy she had ever wielded as queen. She realized with clarity that these children were not just her legacy. They were a promise. A promise of hope, unity, and courage that would stretch far beyond her reign. "They will teach us," she whispered to herself. "They will teach the Empire, our people, and even me, that fear can be overcome, that love can unite, and that strength comes in many forms." The suns dipped lower, casting long shadows across the crystal towers, turned to Lyra and a serene smile on her face. "You have done more than survive," she said. "You have shown me that the future is not just ours to fear, it is ours to shape, and these children, they are the key." Lyra exchanged a glance, a quiet understanding passing between them. Together they had faced doubt, danger, and uncertainty, and emerged stronger. The twins, though small and fragile, embodied the courage, intelligence, and love of both worlds. Their potential was limitless, their future unbound by the restrictions of old traditions. Queen extended her claws to gently lift the twins, holding them between her own arms. The children stirred, their eyes opening just enough to meet hers. She felt a spark of connection, a bridge not only between human but between generations, species, and worlds. "Yes," she said softly, her voice carrying through the palace. "This is the future. Our children, they are the proof that unity, love, and courage can overcome even the deepest fears. They are stronger than I ever imagined, and they will lead us into a new era." The family stood together on the balcony, bathed in the light of the twin suns. Queen felt her heart swell with pride and hope. For the first time, she understood that the galaxy's future was not in isolation or purity, but in collaboration, in courage, and in love that transcended worlds. And in that moment, she whispered, more to herself than anyone else, "You are the promise of everything we can become."